NetsBoy, so let's hear what he has to say. His name is NetsBoy, he thinks the world is all over when the Nets just can't play.
What up, Net fans? NetsBoy here, bringing the latest in your Brooklyn Nets news. All right, let's go. Let's dive right in. In this episode, we're going to focus mostly on the free agency, NBA free agency, which is officially starting. It's currently June 29th or June 30th, depending on when you see this episode. I'm filming it late Wednesday evening or Wednesday night, really, but I'm sure you'll all be seeing this on actual Thursday. And this is the official beginning of NBA free agency, when teams can't officially sign anyone yet, but they can start talking to the players and come to verbal agreements. So this is the official starting point of NBA free agency. And the Nets, like several other teams, have a lot of things they got to address via free agency. And like I said, we're going to focus on that in this episode today. But before we do, just a few little housekeeping things. NBA draft, as I said and expected, the Nets did nothing. They did nothing. They had no draft picks. They didn't trade for any draft picks. They didn't do anything. The only thing that they did was it was in Barclays Center. So, look, I expected the Nets not to do anything. I think the whole point was that the Nets wanted to not bring in any other players under the circumstances until they brought in their, they didn't want to trade anything to get other players and add salary cap when they want to go out and bring in other free agents or re-sign some of their current guys to bigger contracts. I think that was the idea. That's why they didn't trade for a second-round draft pick or anything like that. So they did sign some undrafted players to some training camp contracts and an opportunity to make the team. But I'm not really going to even talk about that or harp on that right now, because right now those players are useless and they may not even make a difference for this Nets team. Even though David Duke Jr. did last year as an unsigned free agent, but undrafted free agent, but I'm not really going to focus on that. So the Nets didn't do anything in the draft. The other piece of housekeeping is just, once again, to finally address the Kyrie Irving situation. As we all know, Kyrie Irving has opted in to his contract, his player option, and will play for the Nets next season. Look, I called it. I told you. I said, listen to me. Listen, everybody. He's not going to opt out and sign a mid-level exception and go to the Lakers and forfeit $30 million. He's not going to do that, okay? Kyrie Irving was simply using that list and all this stuff as leverage to try to entice the Nets to give him a max contract. Nets called his bluff. Kyrie said, all right, you know what? You're right. I really don't want to actually do that. Let me just opt in this year and prove myself. And that's what I said should have been the situation from the beginning. That was the best solution for everyone. Nets get what they want. Kyrie Irving doesn't get exactly what he wants, but gets the opportunity to get what he wants. And I think it just made all the sense in the world. I told everyone, and yes, all right, everyone, I can't even go into the details how many people were reaching out to me, blowing up my phone. Oh, no, NetsBoy, Kyrie's going to leave. What are you going to do? Oh, my God, can you believe it? Can you believe all this stuff? And I'm just like, no, he's not. At least not yet. He could still be traded, right? He's now an expiring contract, opting in. Nets can still trade him. He could still have issues in which, he might demand a trade, and there's still things that could happen. But for the time being, he opted in to his $36 million contract, and he will be a Net. As of right now, he is, and probably in the short-term future, he is. But we'll see what happens. So the Kyrie situation, pushed to the back burner. For now, he's a Net. Now, let's focus on NBA free agency now. As I said, the Nets, they got a lot of work to do. They've got a lot of things they've got to figure out. Starting with first the most important situations, and that is bringing back Bruce Brown and Nick Claxton. Now, Bruce Brown is an unrestricted free agent. However, the Nets do have his bird rights, meaning they can go over the salary cap to retain him. They can't let Bruce Brown walk. I think if you're Sean Marks, your goal should be to bring back as many of these players as you had on your team as possible. And the reason behind that is you can make the argument, but NetsBoy, the Nets were swept in the first round of the playoffs. Why would they bring those players back? And the answer is really simple. Because, as we all know, there was loads of turmoil this season with Kyrie Irving and James Harden wanting to be traded. They traded for players like Seth Curry and Andre Drummond halfway through the season, and Ben Simmons, and there was just a lot of chaos. But the other factor is the Nets didn't even really have a full team. Ben Simmons, as I just mentioned, he didn't even play a game for the Nets, right? So it's almost like he is a free agent himself this year. He's already on the team because he didn't play a game. And Joe Harris, who's also going to be fully healthy and back, he only played in 15 games this year and never played with this set team. It is almost like right off the bat, the Nets automatically acquired Ben Simmons and Joe Harris because both those players did not play with this group. So that is why I am saying Sean Marks' goal should be to bring back as many of the same players he had on the team as possible from last year. Anyone who's willing to come back, bring back. Because you add Ben Simmons and you add Joe Harris to the team the Nets had in the playoffs last season, I think it's a completely different situation, and you're looking at an Eastern Conference championship caliber team easily. So that's what Sean Marks should be looking at. That being said, I don't think they'll be able to bring everyone back, and I'm certain they're not going to be able to bring everyone back. But those who they can, they should. Starting with Bruce Brown. Like I said, Bruce Brown, they can offer him whatever they want. They have his bird rights. I think there's no reason to let him go. I'm not sure what the market's looking at, and I know there's a lot of teams that like him. But if I'm Sean Marks, I'm willing to go as high as $15 million a year. 3-year, 4-year, $15 million. Maybe a 3-year contract with a 4th-year player option, $15 million a year. So, 45, maybe $60 million. I know that's pretty steep, but if you remember in the playoffs, Bruce Brown was the 3rd best player on the Nets. So, and what he brings to the table, his defensive ability, his energy, his toughness, his ability to knock down the 3-point shot now at a more consistent rate, I'm willing to go that high. I'm not saying that's how much the Nets should offer him, but if it comes back to, say he tests the market and a team wants to give him 4 years, $15 million a season, if I'm Sean Marks, I'm matching that. Unless Joe Tsai says not to, I'm doing that because that's how key of a player Bruce Brown is. So that's what I would do there. The other free agent that the Nets need to bring back is Nicholas Claxton, who is a restricted free agent, meaning the Nets can match any offer that another team offers him. Claxton has gotten similar interest of Bruce Brown. A lot of people expect a team to go after him. But at the end of the day, just as important as Bruce Brown, maybe even a little bit more important, to be honest, because the Nets don't have any real bigs on their roster right now. Claxton needs to come back. If I'm Sean Marks, unless someone offers Claxton something ridiculous, right? Like 4 years, $80 million, $20 million a year or something ridiculous like that, I think you got to match it. If I'm Sean Marks, you try to prevent Claxton from even hitting restricted free agency by giving him a pretty respectable contract. What would that look like? Similar to Bruce Brown, but a little bit less. Maybe the same type of years, but a little less money. Maybe instead of $15 million a season, you go $10 million, right? Maybe a 3-year with a 4th-year player option, $10 million a season, so a $30 million, $40 million contract. That, to me, is more than fair for Nicholas Claxton, and I think that's where I would do. If I was Sean Marks, that's what I would offer Nick Claxton to avoid him, to test the unrestricted free agent market. Maybe knock it down to $8 million a year, maybe a $24 to $32 million contract. Not sure how much he would like that, but I think that's more than fair, and I think that would help this Nets team tremendously, and that's what I would do. So right off the bat, I am going after Bruce Brown, offering whatever I need to bring him back, and I'm going after Claxton, trying to get him back as well. If the Nets bring those two guys back, they really only need to make 2 or 3 more moves to solidify this roster. But now, the other major free agent that the Nets have, Patty Mills. He had a player's option, but unfortunately he opted out. Now, Patty Mills has said he's not against coming back to the Nets. He's really just testing the market. As a matter of fact, he still might come back to the Nets. It's just not at his $6.2 million player option. Here's the problem with this situation. Because I know a lot of people are like, well, NetsBoy, he could come back. Yeah, he could. The Nets don't have his rights, though. They don't have his bird rights. He's not a restricted free agent. He's a full-fledged, unrestricted free agent. The Nets only have their mid-level exception, and then veteran minimum contracts to bring in any other free agent other than the guys we just discussed. So if Patty Mills gets similar offers or offers more than the mid-level exception, the best the Nets can give him is a mid-level exception. And he might come back for that. But personally, I'd rather the Nets go after some other players with that mid-level exception contract instead of Patty Mills. And I love Patty Mills. And I think he's a great fit for this Nets team. But with Joe Harris coming back, you have Seth Curry. Not that another shooter would not help, because obviously you can never have too much shooting. If it comes down to going after Patty Mills with the mid-level exception or going after a player such as P.J. Tucker, who declined his option with the Heat and will be an unrestricted free agent, sorry, Patty, I'm going after P.J. Tucker. And that is something that I really hope the Nets do. We all know P.J. Tucker is friends with Kevin Durant. We all know the Nets have had interest in P.J. Tucker last season, trying to get him with a minimum contract. He ended up signing a mid-level exception to go to the Heat. Now he opted out. So now maybe this is the chance that Sean Marks says, PJ, look at our team. Kyrie's back. You have your buddy KD. We've got Ben Simmons. We're going to bring back Claxton Brown. You're the piece that we need. You're a defensive-minded, tough, gritty-nosed player who can knock down the corner three. You're who we want. Come aboard. Here's the mid-level exception. That's what I want Sean Marks to do. And if that means that the Nets won't have that exception to get Patty Mills back, so be it. Now, maybe Patty Mills will come back on a veteran minimum contract, but that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, because if that was the case, he should have just opted into his $6 million option, because he would have made more than the veterans minimum, which I think is $2.5 million. But you never know. But so I don't know what's going to happen there, but that's one of the players I want the Nets to go after with the mid-level exception is P.J. Tucker. If they can't get P.J. Tucker, I would love them to go after Nicholas Batum, also declining an option. He's someone else I feel like would be a really good fit for this Nets team. Kent Bazemore, I feel like would be a really good fit for this Nets team. The Nets need to improve on their defense, and especially their perimeter switching 1 through 5 defense that they love to play. P.J. Tucker and Nicholas Batum fit perfectly in that mold. They're both traditional power forwards who can play the small forward, and if you want to do the small ball crap that Steve Nash loves to do, those guys fit well. Kent Bazemore is more of a traditional guard defensive player, but he's somewhere that fits as well. But I don't know if I really would go after Kent Bazemore over Patty Mills, but I would go after Tucker and Batum over Patty Mills with that mid-level exception. Another player that I think the Nets should go after with that exception, if they can't get Tucker or Batum, is Joe Ingles. Now, there's been rumors about this before. Joe Ingles, by the way, is coming off of an ACL injury and is obviously someone I don't know if he'll be fully healed by the time the season would start, but it'll be close. But he's someone that I would love to take a flyer on. I mean, Joe Ingles is a very versatile defender. He's a very good a power forward / small forward hybrid. At least he was. He can shoot the three-point shot. He can put the ball on the floor. He's a great defender. He's got good fundamentals. I would love the Nets to go after Joe Ingles. And I say he's third on my list with that mid-level exception. I would go Tucker first. If you can't get him, I'd go Batum. If you can't get him, I'll go Ingles. And then if you can't get him, then maybe I would settle for Patty Mills back with that mid-level exception. Or maybe I'll take that exemption to go after on backup big, because we all know that the Nets need to get some more center depth behind Nick Claxton, because I don't know about you, I don't think Drummond's coming back. I think he's looking for a big payday, and I think there's going to be a team that's going to offer him at least $10 million a year, so I think he's gone. I don't think Blake Griffin or LaMarcus Aldridge are coming back because I'm pretty sure they're pretty mad with how things ended and how they weren't in the rotation at the end of the season. So Claxton and Day'Ron Sharpe are going to be the only two bigs on this roster. So maybe the Nets consider using that mid-level exception to go after some of the other backup centers that are out there. Maybe someone like Dwight Howard, which is a shock because if you know NetsBoy, Dwight Howard, is one of the most overrated players in the history of basketball, in my opinion. Heck, there's a song about it. If you really, I don't know how many of my NetsBoy subscribers and viewers were around back then, but in the very first season of NetsBoy, I wrote a song called D12, most overrated player in the game, and it was fantastic. It was a great hit, and, sure, a great hit, but hit for me. But, it was way back. So we all know I don't like Dwight Howard, but how things come full circle. But I will absolutely take Dwight Howard the way he is now, which is, a solid, 18, 20-minute a game backup center who can provide rebounding, defense, and toughness and a physical presence. I would love the Nets to have a player like him play behind Nicholas Claxton. So that's someone I think the Nets should go after, Dwight Howard. I think the Nets should go after JaVale McGee. He's a free agent and available. I think he'd be a huge fit for this Nets team for the similar reasons of Dwight Howard. Outside of those two guys, it's a little bit of a crapshoot in the center spot of who's going to go where. I know there's been loads of rumors and speculations that the Nets are in on DeAndre Ayton in some sort of sign and trade situation that would evolve around Nicholas Claxton. Look, I don't know about that. If Ayton is available and there is a sign and trade situation involving, Claxton, and I heard maybe Joe Harris, my response to that would be, no, I don't want it. And I know that's hard to say because DeAndre Ayton has the potential to be one of the best centers in the game. He's still relatively young. He's 23 years old. He's like a 17 and 10 and 12 player right now. Could only get better. I see the appeal. But I really like Nick Claxton, and I really, really like Joe Harris. And I feel like those two guys are better complementary pieces for what the Nets team have now. And if it means losing those guys, both those guys, and a draft pick, because that's what the rumor is. The rumor is the Nets might put a package of Joe Harris and Nicholas Claxton in a sign and trade, and the 76ers picks that they have, the two 76ers picks, in a package for DeAndre Ayton. I don't know. I wouldn't do it, but I understand the appeal because DeAndre Ayton is still such a good, young, up-and-coming big and has a lot of upside, but I still wouldn't do that if I'm the Nets. I still would focus on going after players like JaVale McGee, Dwight Howard to solidify the backup center position, and who knows? Maybe Sean Marks can work his magic and try to charm Blake Griffin or LaMarcus Aldridge to come back, or charm Andre Drummond to take a veteran minimum contract and come back again and try to run it back. Who knows what exactly can happen? But those are just some of the players I would like to see the Nets go after and pursue this offseason. I don't know about trades or anything else. I'm not sure who else the Nets are looking at or what Sean Marks might be going after. All I know is the biggest thing right now for the Nets is to go and bring back Bruce Brown and Nick Claxton and go from there and try to bring back as many of these players as possible that they had last year. Heck, I'll even take Goran Dragic back on a veteran minimum contract as a depth piece at the point guard spot, just in case Kyrie gets hurt or Ben Simmons doesn't return the way he wants to, just that reinsurance in the point guard spot. I'd be okay with that too. Like I said, Sean Marks needs to just bring back as many players from last season as possible. Just do that. And then this Nets team will be going places. But let's wrap it up now. We're going on 20 minutes in this episode, and that's way too long. Let me know what you guys think about everything. Let me know what you guys think about some of the free agents I said I feel like the Nets should go after. If there's someone you feel the Nets should go after with either the mid-level exception or some of the veteran contracts, if you think that the Nets should trade for somebody, if you like the idea of DeAndre Ayton and trading Joe Harris and Nick Claxton and picks for him, let me know about everything. This is going to be really exciting. We'll see what happens. My next NetsBoy episode probably won't be for a couple weeks after the main free agents have signed. Heck, it may not be until like right around when the summer league's supposed to start, when all the free agents are basically done. So it might be closer to August or the end of July before my next NetsBoy episode. We'll see what happens. Keep your eyes open, though. And until then, this is NetsBoy getting ready for NBA free agency and signing off.